Just a brief video, this one, talking about converting degrees into radians. Just a bit of background on this. As we know, in a circle, we've got 360 degrees, but if we were to measure it in radians, we actually have 2 pi radians. We can show the radians by that little C thing there. So the two are equivalent, but just different measures. So we can say, well, 2 pi radians then is equal to 360 degrees. And so pi radians is equal to 180 degrees. And we can use that to convert between degrees and radians, because what we can say is, if we want to know an angle in radians, then all we need to do is take the value in degrees and then multiply it by pi over 180, and that'll convert it into radians. We can do that because it's equivalent to multiplying top and bottom by the same thing. It's just that they're in different units. So top's in radians, bottom's in degrees. And it's a bit easier if we just rearrange that slightly, and we say it's theta degrees over 180 degrees times by pi. So if we try that for this first one, we want to convert 200 degrees into radians, then we can say, well, that in radians, we've got the 200 over 180 times by pi. And it's often a lot easier or a lot nicer to leave something in terms of pi rather than working in decimals. And one of the reasons is we get an exact answer if it's in terms of pi, and if we work it out as a decimal, it's never going to be exact because we can't write down pi in full because it's a never-ending and non-repeating decimal. So all we can do here really is try and cancel this fraction down to its simplest form, which would be 10 over 9. So we get 10 pi over 9. That's the 200 degrees. In radians is 10 pi over 9. 200 degrees is 10 pi over 9 radians. We can do the same for B. So 56 degrees will be equal to 56 over 180 times by pi if we want to measure it in radians. And so if we again cancel that down, what we'll get is 14 pi over 45. And we do a similar thing for C. So C is 270 degrees. And so we want to convert that into radians. So all we do is we say 270 over 180 times by pi, and the 270 over 180 cancels down to 3 over 2. So it's 3 pi over 2. And then if we did want to get the answer in as a decimal, then we just use the same method, only this time we use the pi button on the calculator. So again, 115 degrees is equal to 115 over 180 times by pi. So here what we do, we just multiply the 115 by pi on the calculator and then divide the result by 180. And we should, if we do it to 3 significant figures, get 2.01 radians. Similarly, 72 degrees is going to be 72 over 180 times by pi. And so if we just put all that into the calculator, what we're going to get is 1.26 radians. So it's as simple as that.